A very good morning to you and welcome to NTV Today. My name is Ken Mijungu and Kisumu. I hope you're waiting for the president and the red carpet is ready for President Uhuru Kenyatta, who will be in Kisumu shortly. We'll be live from the county of Kisumu. Our reporters Oko Kusa and Zacchaeus Mwasame will be leading that agenda. We are also live from Mombasa County with Kevin Mutai. We are live from Migori County, that's in Rongo with Bernardo Juang. And we'll be live right here in Nairobi from Gigiri with Vincent Oduor. And from the we are also live with the NAT conference. We will be speaking to Silas Apollo later. But first, let's begin from where all the action is this morning, and that's Kisumu City with Oko Kusa, who is on standby at the airport to receive the president. Oko, good morning and good to see you this morning. Kisumu is ready to receive the president. I don't know what time he's flying into Kisumu.
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question here, Ken. We really don't know what time he's going to jet in here, but from what you have witnessed here at the airport is that there's a lot of activity, and therefore that signals that he could be here as before in the next few minutes, probably, because we've seen just across there the two military helicopters that arrived here this morning. I think they're the ones that will be carrying the president from this particular point to Ahero interchange, where his first program of the day is supposed to kick off from. So at the Ahero interchange, we are made to understand that the president will be using the road towards Kisumu town and address some roadside rallies at Ahero township, and thereafter he will proceed to Nyamasaria, where another roadside rally is expected to be addressed by the president. Thereafter, according to the program that we got from the State House, is that he'll proceed to Mamboleo Junction to launch the Kisumu-Kakamega road. Remember, this road has been under construction for quite some time now. It's a 160-kilometer road connecting Kisumu and Kakamega, Webuye, all the way to Kitale at a cost of 4.7 billion shillings. So that will happen again, and after that, the president will proceed to Ken Obura schools to open the Ken Obura schools. Remember, Ken Obura was a one-time member of parliament here in Kisumu Central constituency, to be precise. Is currently Chief Administrative Secretary in the Ministry of East Africa Community. And so that will also be happening. The president will be opening a school somewhere just across here in Obunga. And after that, then we'll move to Mamboleo Showground for the main event of the day. That is the launch of the Universal Health Coverage Program. That is expected to happen at slightly after afternoon. So that, in a nutshell, that is the program that we have so far. In case it changes, we'll be here to let you know. And there's been a lot of, dignitaries arriving here at the airport and in Kisumu as early as yesterday. Preparations, according to the county commissioner, that is Pauline Dollar, and the Kisumu county government, Nyang, is that it is in top gear. They're ready to welcome the president. Of course, the wish list for Kisumu residents is long, a basket full of expectations from residents here. They are talking about, they're expecting actually the president to address some of the issues that they regard as very pertinent for this region. We are talking of roads. We are talking of eradication of the water hyacinth, which has resurfaced on Lake Victoria. We are talking about revival of sugar factories that have collapsed. We know of Miwani, Mroni and Chemelil are not crashing to capacity as expected. They are struggling actually with the burdens of financial burdens of tax arrears and arrears of farmers' payments. And of course, thereafter, again, we also the residents also would like the president to address compensation of post-election violence victims of 2017. Remember, that caused some little controversy there among the leaders here when the Sia Senator Orengo suggested that, or demanded that, while here President Kenyatta should address that compensation issue. And another section of leaders felt that this is not the time to bring up such issues, that this is a very important visit of President Uhuru Kenyatta. Remember, it is coming, it's the first one after the famous handshake between him and the opposition leader Raila Odinga. The last time actually the president was here was last year in July, just a few weeks before the elections, to commission the Kenya Breweries factory here in Kisumu, a 15 billion factory project here in Kisumu. And during that time, actually, again, the president also commissioned road construction and rehabilitation works at the Ahero interchange, where he's going to be today. But on that particular day, he was commissioning works of, between Ahero, Kisi and Isebania Road, which is, as we speak now, is under construction at a cost of 18 billion shillings. So that was the last time the president was here, and of course people expect that those issues that they were raising, we had a story last night of residents raising a raft of issues that they would like the president to focus on, will be addressed by the president today. And of course we expect that politics will also take center stage today, even though it is an official government function. Back to you, Ken.
Right, and in spite of the fact that it's an official government function, a national function, you know, it's never so distant from politics. So, Okukusa, thank you so much. Okukusa will be reporting from Kisumu together with my colleague Zacchaeus Mwasame, who is also headed to Ahero, where President Uhuru Kenyatta is supposed to make the first stop after the airport. Right, let's now talk to Bernard Ojwang, who is in Migori County, that's Rongo sub-county. Bernard, good morning. And what are the sentiments of people around Rongo with the coming of Uhuru Kenyatta to the Nyanza region?
Well, thank you very much. Good morning. We are here in Rongo town. And remember what's going on, just as my colleague Okukusa just mentioned there, that President Uhuru Kenyatta is expected in Kisumu anytime soon. This follows after the presidential visit to Nyanza region. He will be touring different places and launching several projects. And remember, this is the first presidential visit to this region after March 9th golden handshake between him and former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, and it was the handshake was really welcomed by many people in the country, as they were saying that it was quite beneficial to them, and whatever they were saying, that they are saying that they need this handshake to be directly translate to benefits to these the Kenyans. And now in Migori County, many people are expecting a lot of things, and I will just if you allow me, we'll be talking to some of the guys here just to tell us what are they expecting from this visit today, and what do they need President Uhuru Kenyatta to address when he will be talking to people in Kisumu and also Siaya come tomorrow. And remember, Uhuru Kenyatta is expected to be there today. Join me here. You start with your name and tell me, what do you expect from President Uhuru Kenyatta's visit today in Nyanza region?
I'm George Caleb Oguta, and I'm happy to be here this morning, and I'm happy to welcome the visit by His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta. We know the office of presidency is a unifying factor, and we welcome him so much, not only in Kisumu, but we even welcome President Uhuru Kenyatta in the entire region of Nyanza, the southern Nyanza, whichever part of Nyanza is welcomed.
What are your expectations?
My expectation for President's visit is to make sure that the development projects that have been installed, have been lagging behind in Nyanza should be reactivated. We have a textile factory, the Kikomi factory. We are expecting President to think about that, because that company is able to create job opportunities for so many youths, so many women, and we expect President to initiate a lot of development factor in this region.
What do you expect, President? Maybe what do you want him to at least to talk about when he will be addressing people in Kisumu?
We want President to talk about prudent management of national resources that we have in the country and even in our county. We know there have been runaway corruption in this country. We want President to be very firm and strict on the people who are fleeing with our money and investing them outside. He should not relax. He should be in the first front so that he advocate for the proper proper management of the available resources. Secondly, I would also expect President to talk about the unity, proper unity in Nyanza, or proper unity in Kenya as a whole will catalyze the development projects in Kenya.
Well,
so we welcome President to visit us, and I think it's the best president that we've never seen, and we look forward to working with him again.
Well, thank you very much. I'll talk to the last person. Join me here. What are your expectations following the visit of President Uhuru Kenyatta?
No, I don't expect much from the president. You know, like the president can visit anywhere in Kenya. He's the president of the country. The only thing I expect is for him to address, you know, the politicians always use people and then they leave them. So those who lost their life during the post-election violence will be compensated. And then the president will address everything, like treat all Kenyans equally. He has done well in terms of fighting corruption. And the only thing that is letting us down is our courts. Now somebody still 200 billion or 2 billion, then the courts grant him a bail of 2 million. That is nothing for someone who has stolen 200 million. So the courts will be so strict on those who have stolen from the Kenyans and grant them a very tough bail.
Well, thank you very much. Ken, you've just heard from Migori County residents speaking there. They are saying that when the president will be addressing Kenyans in Kisumu, he should talk about the issue on how to revive industries that have been there and currently laying an operational. And also they are talking about state-owned sugar factories. Talk about Sony Sugar, Mumias, Chemelil, and many others. And those industries should be revived so as to enable the farmers from this region to benefit. And also, they have also congratulated President Uhuru Kenyatta on the fight against corruption here in the country. Back to you, Ken.
Right, Bernardo Juang from Migori County, specifically Rongo, thank you very much. Let's now cross over to Mombasa, where Kevin Mutai is on standby with the briefs from that county. Kevin, good morning. What do you have from Mombasa?
Good morning, Ken, and thank you so much. We are live from Mombasa, and top on our diary today is the issues of insecurity. We've received reports that there's a fresh attack that occurred at 4 a.m. at Changamwe at a container freight station along Airport Road, whereby a gang of 10 attacked that particular station and injured 2 security officers belonging to a private security company. We were told that there was a confrontation between the attackers and these particular security, private security officers who were manning that particular station, and they injured 2 of them. One of them is nursing serious injuries at Coast Provincial General Hospital, while the other one is receiving treatment at Pandya Hospital, but we are told that they're in stable condition and they will be able to recover. Also, we are still following up on the issue that occurred yesterday, whereby the ex-Kilifi Deputy Governor Kenneth Kamto was executed at his home. We are told that detectives from homicide in Nairobi will be joining the ongoing investigations, of course with the help of local security personnel in the region, to try and unravel the mystery behind the murder of Kenneth, a politician who has been really of great influence to the people of Kilifi. The attackers trailed him all the way from where he was at that particular night before his murder at the wee hours of Wednesday morning. We were told that the detectives will be piecing up several information, including the CCTV footage from various restaurants and entertainment joints where the deceased had visited. Of course, also they will be looking up on his phone conversations, the call records, which will be also, which the detectives say will also help the ongoing investigations. We'll be also following up on the issues of attacks whereby criminal gangs have been causing mayhem and of course killing, maiming and robbing residents in Kisauni, Nyali and Likoni constituencies. We have been receiving reports that these members of the gang, there's been a crackdown, and as of yesterday in the evening, security officers informed us that they've managed to arrest 2 of the main suspects. Those are believed to be leaders of the gangs operating in those regions, and currently there's a security meeting happening. All the security chiefs in the regions are in that particular meeting, and we're expecting them to address the media shortly after 10 a.m. The meeting, we're told, began at 8 a.m. this morning, and it's currently going on, and of course course, this is something, the issue of security in the region has become a biting, a thorny issue that is affecting everybody. But which begs the question also, Ken, that when is the last straw going to break the camel's back? This is an issue that security personnel in this region need to come up clearly and address the cases of insecurity that we are experiencing in this region and bring to an end the nightmare that is causing residents of Mombasa and the neighboring counties. Also, lastly, we're also following up on a story whereby the Postal Corporation of Kenya will be commissioning the first ever the dock post office at the Kenya Ports Authority. This is what the Postal Corporation of Kenya says will enhance the delivery of postal services in and out of the country. Those are just some of the stories that we will be covering for our viewers. And right now, Ken, we are heading out in the field to look out on those stories, and we will be back with more details. Back to you, Ken.
Right, Kevin Mutai, thank you very much. Very comprehensive indeed. We're looking forward to that report, especially for the slain former deputy governor. All right, from Mombasa, let's take you now to Embu, where Martin Maura is also on standby. Martin, what's happening in that county?
Good morning, Ken. As you have rightly said, we are coming live from Embu County, county number 14. Now, we are here in Embu to talk to residents. The agriculture CS, that is Mwangi Kionjori, is expected in Embu to launch two major projects. That is Lower Kithengi and Runga irrigation project, which aims to benefit over 1,500 farmers from this area. But he's expected to be in Embu by around 10, where he's going to see some farmers and inspect some of the projects which are being done by the government in efforts to see that Big Four agenda, which is food security, comes to realization. Now, on our topic for today, which is about the president's visit in Kisumu, the two-day visit in Kisumu, I want to engage some of the residents just to give me their views, to tell me their feeling about maybe do they feel like, because as you know, last month, leaders from this region, the Mount Kenya region, were in Naivasha, and some of them lamented that this area has been neglected by the Jubilee government. We just want to feel if it is true to the settlements, and if the president has really been focusing on other regions rather than the Mount Kenya. Let me talk to some of the residents. Karibu sana ndugu. Kindly nianzie na majina, uniambie wewe unaona ziara ya rais kwenda Kisumu iko namna gani? Nyanza.
Yeah, thank you very much. My name is Ahero Karaja. I'm a resident of Embu. I fully support what the president is doing. We support the president in this initiative because the responsibility of the president is bring people together. And there is no country that can develop if people are undivided. So what he is doing is to be supported by leaders and people from all walks of life if Kenya has to develop. So we support him. Yeah.
Maybe. Do you feel like what leaders from Mount Kenya said that the president has neglected this region and concentrated on the opposition?
Now, what there is that I think it's their request that the president should also come and visit this region. Like, he is also supposed to visit all the other regions. And we are saying again, we support that. So if he has a chance and comes and visits this to meet people here, so they can also give their views, it's welcome. Okay. But currently, we are happy with what he's doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Let me get the views of another resident. Tell me, maybe I know you are aware the president is going to Kisumu. Yeah. Maybe your sentiments.
Yeah. I think what Joseph Moniki, whatever the president is doing, it's according to the program. I think in our religion, it depends with the leaders. If they don't have an agenda to take to the president and that he make accomplish, he cannot come unless he is told what to do. And I think he does not know every county, he does not know every region, unless the leaders come up with agendas. Yeah.
Now, maybe, do you feel the president needs to visit this area frequently as he's doing in other areas?
It would depend. Maybe he should face it because he's the president of the nation. It's not only one region. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, those are some of the views from residents of Embu. We'll be talking to more people to tell us their views about the president's visit. Back to you, Ken.
Very much. And Martin is reporting from Embu, also weighing in on the president's visit in Kisumu. All right, before I speak to my panel here, there's something that is happening in Migori. That is the Grand Manor Hotel is coming down just a few hours after the court ruled that it has to come down. Let's cross over right now and speak to Vincent Oduor, who's covering that for us. Vincent, good morning. Not so good behind you there. What's happening?
Absolutely. What I can tell you is that the
it's not so good. That's an
tiny green excavator, famously called Sunny, is already here doing what it knows best. And as you can see behind me, this is the multi-million shilling Grand Manor Hotel that is being demolished right now. The demolition just started very early in the morning, just a day after a court in Nairobi allowed the Nairobi City County government to demolish this hotel after it agreed with City Hall's argument that the hotel being adjacent to the United Nations offices was a big threat. And right now, as you can see, the famous green excavator is doing the demolition. It's tearing apart the building, which was somehow five floors, and right now the demolition is underway. And this is something that has been controversial for quite some time. This hotel, Grand Manor Hotel, is owned by businessman Praful Kumar, and they had moved to court to try and stop its demolition, but the court gave the City Hall or the Nairobi County government an okay to demolish it. And right now that is what is happening, as you can see. And the building was complete, and the rooms were just being refurbished, ready to be opened for clients, because it was to be somehow a residential and a hotel to provide accommodation. But right now it will be anymore, and the demolition is going on right now. As you can see, we can see some furniture, including beds and some furniture in general is being removed from the building, and this means that a lot of property that was already inside has also been destroyed, and there was no time even to salvage some of the items that had already been put in the building. And remember, this is something that is basically a big blow to the businessman Praful Kumar, because the businessman had put a spirited fight to try and save this property. Remember, in August, the businessman was arrested for bribery after he was accused of trying to bribe the Nairobi City County, or the Nairobi County Governor Mike Sonko, with some amount of money to try and make him stop the demolition of this building. But that did not happen. He was arrested by detectives from the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, and he was charged with 3 counts of bribery. And his efforts to try and save this property failed. And right now the demolition is going on, and after a few hours, probably the entire building will be down. When I try and look from where I am, is that basically the first floor, second floor, and the third floor have already been teared apart. A section of it has already been teared apart, and the Sunny has taken a break right now, as some of the officials from the City Hall are trying to remove some properties or items from the building, including beddings, seats, couches, and also not forgetting stuffs to do with basically things that are normally found inside a hotel room, a modest hotel room. For now, as the Sunny, the green excavator takes a break before it continues towards the other floors. Right now I'm taking you back to studio, and we'll keep you updated on how basically with the ongoing demolition that is going on right now. Back to the studio.
Right, Vincent Oduor, thank you very much. Vincent is still in Migori monitoring what's happening there for us. And I'd like to ask a question to my panel about that demolition. But first, I'm told Mwasame is now ready for us. He is at one of the very many stops that President Uhuru Kenyatta is taking this morning. Mwasame, where are you exactly, and at what time do you expect the president there?
Thank you so much, Ken. As you rightly mentioned, we are coming to you live from Ahero in Nyando constituency of Kisumu County, where this is one of the many places that President Uhuru Kenyatta is expected to be specifically here to launch the Ahero interchange that heads to Kisumu. And therefore, you asked me about the time that the president is supposed to check in here. We are not very, very sure, but as the indications are, we have seen a crowd of leaders, those expected to live in here arriving. That is an indication that the president is not very far away from here. Apart from launching the Ahero interchange, the president also will be launching the Kakamega Buye highway that has been under construction for now 2 years. That is a project that is manned by KENHA, Kenya National Highways Authority. The president is also expected to launch the universal healthcare at the Mamboleo Stadium. That will be the peak of his tour today in Kisumu County. The president is expected also to be accompanied by NASA leader Raila Odinga. Remember, since the handshake, this was the area perceived to be, a rejection zone for President Uhuru Kenyatta, but since the handshake, this is a welcoming zone, and residents are very, very much awaiting for the president. They are saying that this is going to be a changeover for this region that has been in opposition for very many years. And therefore, Ken, this is something that is, seen as a very big step in terms of development. And remember, the Ahero interchange is a project that is also just 60% in completion, and therefore it's supposed to take close to around two years from now to be completed. Ken?
All right, thank you very much. We'll be checking back with you. Thank you very much, Zacchaeus Masame from Ahero. That's one of the stops that President Kenyatta is making this morning. Gentlemen, before I talk about the next story, I just like your brief comments. I'll begin with the lady, ladies and gentlemen, about the demolition that is going on in Migori this morning. Yes.
Well, it's unfortunate that the building has to come down. The first thing is he had been warned not to go on. So instead of him adhering to what he has been asked not to do, he went ahead. I think it's what we are seeing in Kenya, impunity.
Okay.
But now impunity has a price, and a very deadly price.
Okay.
You lose investment money on demolitions.
Okay.
Yeah.
But again, it's disturbing, Simeha, to look at such an investment coming down. I mean, there are quarters that have argued, why didn't you just say he cannot go above a certain floor and then just let the investment stay?
I think any form of impunity ought to have a very, very steep price, very painful price, I think. Perhaps that is when we send those kind of messages to all of us, to ourselves as Kenyans and those who want to live and invest in this country, perhaps we will restore sanity in our in our society. Because if you say that, and then everyone who has built on riparian land, on public land, on road reserves and so on, will make the same argument. Everyone who wants to come and sell their wares in the city center, they'll come to your doorstep here at Nation Center and say they have a right to a livelihood. They would like to sell their shoes and maize and so on at the doorstep of Nation Center.
Okay.
So honestly, there's a reason why we have a constitution, we have laws, we have regulations and so on to manage relationships between ourselves, because each one of us has interests. Okay. Imagine if everybody is allowed to pursue their interests,
to do what they want,
without any regard to other people's interests and law and order.
Okay.
So I do not think it's unfortunate that the building is coming down. I actually think that we have hardly done what we ought to do with regards to correcting the mistakes we've made in this country through impunity.
Okay. And David, yesterday during the Jamhuri Day speech by the governor, he actually said, don't wait for us to come. Come to us and tell us your plan of getting it off.
The governor is a wonderful dreamer, but all dreams are valid. Listen, the best thing that has happened to this country after Kibaki Roads and the Constitution is this fight against graft. The onslaught on graft and corruption is as beautiful as it gets. I love it. It may not have achieved as much as it ought to just yet, but the deterrence effect of this fight against graft is profound. There's no way that people can want to continually break laws and not suffer the punishment laid down for breaking these laws. We are entrusted with ensuring that our children and our children's children live a better life than we have today. So if you wake up one morning and because you think you are the billionaire who might have funded the campaign of the governor or a presidential candidate or whatever it is, and so you will get into an area where there are restrictions on the number of floors that you can build, and you decide that you're too important to listen or to abide by the laws, then the best thing that can happen to you is to see yourself losing that very thing that you cherished, so that it's a slap on your face. I want to implore, in fact, what President Uhuru Kenyatta has begun with the DPP and DCI, I am only praying that the investigative agencies are able to make their cases so watertight so that we do not go to court again and the same guy is going to claim for more than he has lost in that property and say, no, look at this, try and look at it as amount of money I would have made accruing over this period, and then he's going to be paid 2 billion for an investment that's entirely worth 500 million, because that's going to be another point.
Okay.
So this, the sunny chronicles must continue.
Okay, must continue.
The buildings on riparian land,
And
whether it
land.
is Dusit or it is the game suites, whatever it is, whoever's it is, must be able to be brought down. This must be done so impartially so that then it looks objective.
Okay. And I guess, Mamboleo, the question to a lot of people now is what he's speaking about, David is speaking about. What happens after? Can I claim compensation? What happens to me if that was my building?
Ken, to ride on the high philosophical pitch that my friend David has put forward, I want to state this, that you see, what is happening is extremely important. Why? Because it sends a very stark message to the lords of impunity in this country that, your time is nigh. That time when you used to do these things and get away with it is long gone. However, I want to put it here very categorically that there is an important aspect which we must never forget about. And this is the people in government who collude with these people for them to do these buildings, okay? So as the president leads the war on corruption, as the authorities bring down these buildings, we want to go down and search for that clerk, search for that committee at City Hall, which is in charge of approving building plans, all right? Search for those fellows at NEMA who got some little money to look the other side and bring them to book, so that this message is not only sent to the builders or to the developers, it is also sent in a very, very meaningful manner to the authorities of government who make this possible. Believe me, it is not just saying that you are building on riparian land, so be warned. In fact, NEMA and other agencies, the Water Towers Authority, the City Council, are supposed to make sure those buildings do not start in the first place.
Okay.
So what we must of importance emphasize is, by all means, get all of them. And the question of impartiality is extremely important. Get my building, get Ken Mijungu's building, get David's building, and get Smear's building, and everybody's building, so that all these buildings come down, so that the government is seen to be doing this objectively, so that it doesn't look like a witch hunt. But most importantly, now deal with the corrupt within government. That is going to be extremely important.
In fact, I remember, Ken, there was a Mr. Otieno. No, hang on. When there was a Mr. Otieno identified as having been the one who authorized the building that was just at the T-Mall roundabout, that was brought down, owned by Mr. Manotti, where we first knew things had gone south, because Mr. Manotti had been a very good friend of the president. He had been a supporter of the Jubilee government properly. That Mr. Otieno, who had been said by Sonko as governor, he said the person who cleared this building was this Mr. Where did he go to?
Okay. Good question. Let's set the stage now for our discussion this morning. And a basket full of expectation awaits President Uhuru Kenyatta in Kisumu at the Lakeside county of Kisumu today. Now, jobs compensation of 2017 post-election violence victims and rivals of collapsed factories top president's wish list as the head of state jets into the region for the first time after the famous handshake between him and the opposition leader Raila Odinga, as Oko Kusa now reports.
With less than 24 hours left before President Kenyatta begins his much-awaited visit to Kisumu, plans to receive him are near completion. At the Mamboleo showground where the universal health coverage launch is scheduled to happen, they were setting up.
Let's go and see.
Governor Mijungu and the County Commissioner Pauline Dollar led a team of senior government and county officials on an inspection tour.
The preparations in top gear, and we are only appealing to the people of Kisumu to turn out in great numbers, even from Vihiga and Kakamega, to make sure that and Nandi, definitely Nandi is already here anyway. So and Kericho, in fact, all the governors from the Lake Region Economic Bloc are coming.
Though the president's main purpose of visit is well spelled out, residents expect him to address a raft of other issues that they claim affect the region adversely.
We are trying to just make an appeal to the president that the road from Kisumu to Miwani Road, which is joining between Kisumu and Nandi County, is a road which was done in the year 1995.
Kindly consider this road. This road is pathetic and we are dying because of this road. We are coming poor because of this road. Kindly remember this road, and we are praying for you, for Almighty Father God, kindly enter into the Excellency, the President, kindly to remember about this road.
We've got things like the sugar sector. We've got Miwani factory, Chemalil and Moroni. There are certain of the certain of the factories we expect to trap the president when he comes this side of the country. He should revive them. At least it should be come back to a revival. They should be revived.
Some leaders have termed the president's visit as a turning point in the region's political arena, saying the move will give Kisumu a new face, that of tolerance to diverse political opinions.
We will welcome the president here in the name of the handshake, in the name of building bridges, in the name of a better future for Kenyans, and I believe in the name of great hope for the people of this area.
Let me take this early opportunity to thank His Excellency President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta and Mheshimiwa Raila Amolo Odinga for bringing calmness to the otherwise turbulent waters of our politics through the Building Bridges initiative.
A section of leaders and residents want the president to break the norm of its predecessors and visit Kisumu more frequent, saying the local state lodge has remained without life for eons. Oko Kusa, NTV.
And of course, the leaders from various places have begun to arrive. Right now is Deputy President William Ruto and the first, not the first lady, but that's William Ruto's wife, Rachel Ruto, being welcomed by dignitaries in Kisumu. That includes, I think, the governors there. I've seen Rafael Tuju, I've seen Cecily Kariuki. Actually, Cecily Kariuki, the back shot doesn't show so much, but Cecily Kariuki is there traveling with the Deputy President William Ruto and a host of other dignitaries. We're waiting for President Uhuru Kenyatta to arrive in Kisumu. But in the meantime, let me bring the conversation back to studio. I am here with David Osian, Besi Kathambi, Joseph Simeha, and James Mamboleo to join us in this conversation this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. And of course, a good point to begin with is the political statement that this visit is signaling in Kisumu. Let me begin with David.
No, I think the visit, the visit of President Kenyatta it's welcome. It diffuses the ethnic and tribal tensions that we have had. The Luo and Kikuyu communities over the years, from the times of Uhuru and Raila's fathers, have been, at war politically. In fact, they will do business wonderfully, but when it gets to the elections, it becomes another thing. And for that reason, the Nyanza bit of this country, the western bit of the country, has deliberately been left behind in terms of, you know, development until this good thing called devolution came. The visit by President Uhuru Kenyatta, therefore, means he has moved from merely shaking Raila's hand and wants to go and confront the populace down there and tell them, see what, you guys, I am committed to leaving a cohesive nation behind. I am committed to putting behind our differences in the past, you know. It would not be simple for President Kenyatta to go to Kisumu had he not had that significant handshake with Raila Odinga, which, in a sense, is like an extension of a hand of forgiveness and seeking forgiveness from the support base of Mr. Odinga, which is primarily the Luo vote.
Okay.
And so I hope that while he is there, he is able to, you know, honestly have a conversation and tell them, I know that at the height of the elections last year, so many things happened. Lives were lost. I have requested for compensation. I may not have been the one liable because he's not the one who carried the gun to shoot, but it is perceived that the directions may have come from him. I hope while he is down there, he is able to confront the issues around sugarcane farming.
No, I want the political statement first. I'll get to the business side of this.
The political statement is made by his going there.
Okay.
To say, listen, you didn't expect me here. Here I am.
Basically, this is 9 months after the handshake. And of course, almost 1 year, 3 months after. The last time he was there was July, when he commissioned that project of Kenya breweries, right? And now he's back. Everything is settled. People are speaking. The table now, you can find everyone on the table. Former Prime Minister Raila Odinga has a position in the AU. And the people of Kisumu still are not yet feeling the impact. But at least they have made some steps.
Well, for me, I think it's the effect of the handshake. I have two outlooks to it. We are seeing now, we are breaking banks where we had this social, cultural upbringing where we thought Kikuyus and Luos cannot be. They cannot join in. There must be an ulterior motive behind it. And the president is making us see that that is living off. He's now removing that mindset from us. The other outlook is that he wants to assure the people from Nyanza that the Kikuyus also have their interest in ensuring they gain from the in this region. So it's how you want to look at it. Maybe he's giving it a better presidential look. It's a very good move, but I also am, like the Luo people, I'm skeptic. I don't know what it is that, you know, we don't know with the handshake what else comes with a handshake.
Okay. Yeah. Simeha, the political statement, you are the heart of NASA, and this is another statement. Yeah. It's a new dawn, right, for Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga. But what are you reading from this politically?
That's a very political statement you just made. I hope my colleagues agree. Yes. Anyhow, yes, it is an important political statement for sure. Yes. Because of the perceptions that are, you know, are pervasive in the country. That you know, because of the polarization, the president has been historical, that side of the country, you know, is left on the periphery, because we are perceived not to support those who are in power currently, those who have been in power before. So therefore, we have to be punished communally. So in terms of just general understanding of citizens, it is an important statement that, look, let's talk as Kenyans. I am a president, even though in my opinion by default, of all Kenyans. So let's talk as Kenyans. What I fear though in this political statement, Ken, is that it is already to me easily whitewashing certain very important unresolved issues. Issues of violence during the elections, issues of particularly violence from state institutions, the police, during the last election, the fiasco of the elections. To me, it must never be allowed to go away. In fact, I wish that during this visit, it should have been greeted with, you know, protests and picketing, and the president responds to that positively and says, look, I hear you. I acknowledge there was a problem. I acknowledge we have not resolved that problem. We need to resolve that problem. But, you know, now welcoming the president, you know, if you try to send that message, say through picketing or demonstrating, you are seen as someone who is not welcoming the president, that you are anti-Uhuru, that you are showing a bad picture, that maybe you are embarrassing, even you are embarrassing Raila Odinga because of the handshake and so on. I would like people's voices, particularly victims of state violence, not to be whitewashed, not to be, you know, hidden under the carpet, that this kind of visit should bring those out so that we have a process of truth, we have a process of justice, and we have a process, hopefully now, of reconciliation. But this symbolic, this is symbolic. Symbolism is only a small bit. It's not going to heal us. We must go through a very genuine process.
Okay.
Yes.
The fact that he's even taken this step, hardly a year since he was re-elected as President James, to you, that's also a political statement that he's making.
It's extremely important, and I think this is what it tells the hardline supporters of each of these two camps, that, like my friend Simeha, that, you know, don't fight too hard, because politics is basically politics. Ken, we were here in the aftermath of the election last year, and we debated this question immensely with serious professionals in this town, taking divergent, opposite opinions with respect, for instance, the upcoming fresh presidential election. And this came and happened. And you know, the important thing that we must remember is that for the 4 counties of Nyanza, the second presidential election did actually not happen, all right? Because the IEBC, noting that there was purely havoc and the possibility of serious violence, decided to leave that side of the country so as not to participate in the second election, which is extremely unfortunate. However, 1 year down the line, we now have in place a very firm handshake between His Excellency the President and His Excellency the People's President, former Prime Minister Raila Odinga. And you can see that out of that, they are now meeting in Kisumu to try and tell the people that, look, politics is just politics. We are now beyond there, and we want to lead this country to probably an era of reconciliation and an era of working together. Now, coming to the question of what does this symbolize? You know, not even the devil would know the state of mind of any human being. But I want to deduct, to the extent that I can, that out of that handshake must have been a process in which the two leaders sat down together and decided that in the best interest of the country, let us now work together. And as a result of that, you have seen many steps being taken. It is true that the Building Bridges initiative hasn't seemed to have made a lot of steps as at now, but I believe that there is some process that is ongoing. And ultimately, the important question, Ken, is going to be the question of political competition. Okay. Are we going to continue in this country having the kind of political competition in which after every election, you know, some part of the country feels that they were left out and they were left out unfairly? Or are we going to build an election process in which after every election everybody is able to shake the other's hand and say, look, this was fair, let me try this thing again? But most importantly also, let us always remember that there is going to be a question later in which our people are going to have to consider the question, right? Is the kind of government as constituted right now through our constitution, probably the kind of government we should have? Is there probably a place for thinking outside the constitution we have, so that we bring about a dispensation in which everybody feels like they belong within government? I think that is a conversation which we might need to start. Great.
And the former Prime Minister, the host of President Uhuru Kenyatta, has just arrived. I think it should have been the other way. He should have been there to welcome the Deputy President. There's a Deputy President welcoming, but that's political also. No, that's political also. What do you mean?
Junior people arrive first, the senior people arrive.
No, that's a political statement, I will not agree. But let's move the conversation. That's the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga arriving, Raphael Tuju welcoming him, and the choice of even the entourage. He just arrived with Junaid Mohammed, you know, and the Deputy President arrived with Rashid Echesa, you know, very interesting, and Cecily Kariuki. We can't ignore the fact that Mamboleo has brought in a very important aspect of this conversation, the 4 counties. And traditionally, Kisumu and Siaya, where Uhuru Kenyatta is visiting, have stuck with Raila Odinga, regardless of what happens, right, Bessie?
Yes.
And that's where Uhuru is going also this morning.
I think also they're seeing there's opportunity. But for me, what I find, I agree with my friend James, is come 2022, we will still be having another building bridges initiative. Yeah, because we could visit these places. That's true. The president will go to Siaya and all these places, but it's just visiting. Yeah, and what for me I'll bring in also is what has the national government done to enhance what the county is doing in Siaya. We're not just doing this for mere political rhetoric, yeah, or some sideshow, but what has the national government helped Siaya people in ensuring that they are being given that better platform that they were not being given before.
Okay.
So his visit there for me would be, what will you do for the people, or what have you been doing for the people? It's not ceremonial as much as we want to make it. We also need to see where our taxpayers' money is going in terms of the national government supporting people in Siaya.
Okay.
Yeah.
David.
You know, one time, I think just about 3 months ago, there was some students, I think there was a presidential program for students in high school. And one of the girls stood and shot a question at the president and said, President Kenyatta, what would you like to be remembered for if you were to leave office today, or when you retire from office? To which President Kenyatta answered, I would like to leave behind 1, a cohesive nation, and 2, a country that's rid of corruption. The president's visit to Kisumu connotes the first legacy he would want to leave, which is a cohesive nation. But that does not happen by merely visiting that side of the country. We have to put in place structures that would ensure that happens. That you have structures laid down, institutions that work, that will ensure that beyond his presidency, beyond this handshake, we are able to have a country that's truly cohesive. That we can indeed have political competition, fine, but it is not political competition that would evoke tribal emotions. And how do you achieve that unless you show that for such an ethnocentric nation as is Kenya, there is something for everyone? You see, the tragedy of a tribal country, or a country that first thinks ethnic before thinking qualification, is that if ethnic groups or conclaves are not feeling part of the process of governance of the country, then their people and their supporters will say, we have been rejected, or we have been thrown to the periphery.
Okay.
And so, as the president visits, it is important that the issues captured in the Building Bridges Initiative, because the Building the Bridges Initiative was done courtesy of the fights that had been at the election time. It captures much more inclusivity, corruption, but it was to ensure that the next election will not be as volatile, much more tribally as the previous one was. Are we able to achieve a country where all of us feel they belong? Are we able to see, right from the appointments into devolution, that this can work? Of course, one would argue that devolution has come to try and sort out the problem of feeling neglected, so that everyone can point and say, indeed, here is a little money allocated to Kisumu County. We have to also insist that the leaders who are tasked with ensuring that money works well do it and do it right. I have countlessly said that in the year 2013 to 2017, Garissa County, Kisumu County, Homa Bay County, Migori County had each of them 23.3 billion shillings. Look at what Makueni County, which also had the same amount of 23.3 billion, has done with its 23 billion, and compare it with what the other characters who led in the different jurisdictions in the first term did with that money. Now, we have to ensure that this helps us to catch up, but there is the part that the president himself has to do politically and decisively. And it goes beyond appointments. Some of us, and I'm grateful to be a beneficiary of that kindness and serving on the board of the suffering Chemelil Sugar, which we hope to revive. But beyond the appointment into these boards, there is a much more significant issue around infrastructure improving these areas, ensuring that they have institutions like hospitals that are properly, equipped. So there's much more to it than just the visit.
I'm taking a short break. When I come back, I'd like your sentiments, James and Joseph, on the fact that traditionally these two regions where Uhuru is focusing his attention for the next 2 days are or have always stood with Raila Odinga, and those are the places he's targeting. We take a break. When we come back, we'd like to talk about that, and also we'll do another round of check at the Grand Manor Hotel in Migori to see what's happening. Stay with us. We are back. I'll call you to order. Welcome back to NTV Today. My name is Ken Mijungu. With me in studio is David Osian. We have Besi Kadhambi, Stella Agara, Joseph Simeha, and James Mamboleo. And Mamboleo will be at Mamboleo sometime today.
Absolutely.
Is that related to your family?
Yes, yes.
Is it related to your family?
Chickens are finally coming home to roost.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, we had live pictures earlier on of the Deputy President William Ruto and his entourage arriving. He had with him Cecily Kariuki and Rashid Chesa, among other top government officials. Raila Odinga with Junet Mohammed, the director of elections at ODM, right? Junet Mohammed, and we expect President Uhuru Kenyatta to be at to touch down in Kisumu at any moment. As soon as we have those pictures, we're also bringing them live to you. And we are live from Ahero interchange interchange. That's where President Uhuru Kenyatta will make his first stop today before going to Mamboleo. We also understand that he will be going to the Jaramogi Oginga Odinga University of Science and Technology, where they'll be conferred honorary honors later on, and a lot of other things, including launching the universal healthcare in Kisumu. So we are on standby for all that. Right here in Nairobi, we are at the NAT conference and also at Gigiri, where the Grand Manor Hotel is coming down. All right, let's come back to the discussion. And Stella, good to see you. Welcome to the show. You haven't spoken, but I have to give Joseph and James at least to respond on the issue of the two regions that traditionally have stuck with the opposition, and those are the target of President Uhuru Kenyatta.
Yes, the regions that you've mentioned, particularly the 4 counties of Luo Nyanza, have not only stuck with Raila. You remember in 2002 they stuck with Kibaki, overwhelmingly, who is not Luo. So they have stuck with whoever they saw as the one with the greatest promise to deliver on their expectations as a people. So it's not just them sticking with Raila because he's Luo. I believe they stick with him because that is where they see the person who has the highest promise of their expectations being fulfilled. Okay. I think we have to look at it in that context. So to the visit to those regions, as we have said earlier, it's important. The gesture is important. The political gesture visiting is important, but it should only be the beginning of opening up our dirty history, so that we can look at the naked truth. Because I do not think palliative gestures are going to make this country a cohesive country. No, they will not. They will temporarily lull the pain. And we imagine that we are all one because Uhuru Muigai came here. But things continue as business as usual. We must dismantle the system that creates the divisions that we have in this country. The system that has institutionalized as ethnicity, excluding other people and so on. That system is intact in place. We must dismantle that system that promises a much better life and standard of life for a small group of people and consigns the rest of us to a struggle. In fact, I disagree with Mamboleo when he says that we must not fight so hard. When you are in a relationship of power where you are the less powerful, I'm telling you, Ken, you must fight very hard, continuously. It's a life and death matter. You must never relent, and that's why I refuse to relent. We do not yet have a solution to a cohesive country until either Muigai Kenyatta is willing to say that, okay, let's talk about the truth, the political problem of this nation, and I doubt he would be willing, or we the people force them to come to the table. We were close there before that handshake. We were very close to forcing them that let us come to the table as Kenyans and discuss the political problem of this country.
But at the end of the day, this is a good beginning, right?
I've said the palliative care is good.
You refuse to tell
but it's not it.
Okay.
It's not the cure.
It's not it. Okay.
It's just to lull the pain a little bit. It's not treatment. Thank you.
James.
Again, I agree with my friend Simeha totally.
For once.
Wait for it. Wait for it. Wait for it. Wait for it.
And this is what I want to say today, that someone in the caliber of one Raila Odinga is a big asset. He's the kind of person whom government should use very carefully to achieve a lot of things. And I'm sure probably President Uhuru Kenyatta has been properly advised that there's no reason fighting with Raila Odinga when you can work together and achieve great things for this country. The other day, I think it was one of these public holidays. It happened in Buhungu Stadium in Western Province, or what is formerly Western Province. And after that, I heard a number of my Luya friends claiming that, Raila was given an opportunity to speak, and their leaders, in quotes, Musalia Mudavadi, Wetangula, and so on, were not given a chance to speak. Do you know the important thing that I observed in that particular proceeding was this? That every time Raila Odinga's name was mentioned, just mentioned, the crowd went ballistic. There was serious observation amongst all commentators that, the name Raila Odinga resonated very well, even at Buhungu Stadium. Now, every time, probably a few times it was mentioned, Every time Wetangula's name or Musalia Mudavadi's name was mentioned, in their own backyard, nobody said a thing.
Yeah.
Which tells you that Raila Odinga comes not just with Nyanza province, he comes with the entire Western Bloc, and therefore when you do a political deal with him, it means that you have done a political deal with a huge section of the western part of the country and probably a number of areas in the Coast Province and so on and so forth. What am I trying to drive at? We can call it palliative care. We can call it knee-jerk reaction. We can call it fake relationship or whatever it is we want to call it. Those of you here who are aware of how politics is negotiated must understand that the fact alone of Raila Odinga shaking the hand of Uhuru Kenyatta does not necessarily mean the benefits that he's been seeking for his people are going to come. The days ahead are going to require very serious, objective, practical negotiations, hard negotiations, where you compromise a little and give a little to make sure that this happens. Because government is a behemoth. It is not going to take political fiat from the mouth of Uhuru Kenyatta for people in Nyanza to get benefit. It is going to require a group that is extremely well organized, which knows exactly what it is going for, to negotiate with Uhuru's government so as to acquire those benefits. Remember, and this is extremely important, that these leaders also need to put the interests of the people ahead instead of their own interests.
Okay.
It depends on what these leaders are bringing to the table for negotiation. If Raila Odinga goes to Uhuru Kenyatta and all he's asking for is a job for himself and for his relatives and kin and friends, then you can be sure that will not go very far.
Okay.
But if he goes very strongly this time around and says, look, my part of the country has remained behind for many years. They don't have hospitals, they don't have roads, they don't have good schools, they don't have whatever facilities they do not have, and then puts that as the first negotiating point. Believe me, he's going to be in better state to get those benefits than if he goes for personal things.
Okay.
But most importantly, and I want to say, which is extremely important, somebody raised the whole idea about William Ruto being in Kisumu earlier than Raila Odinga, and that is Raila Odinga's turf. And my friend here said that, it is because he's junior. I do not think that it is because he's junior, but I think that if I were William Ruto right now, I will understand that when somebody is president, like Uhuru Kenyatta is today, and he's dealing with someone like Raila Odinga, then probably a time has come for him to go beneath them and understand what these people are about and support that process and be seen to be supporting it. Because I think that at this particular point you can see that he's becoming the weak link in the effort towards cohesion of this nation. So I do not want him to be left behind. I want him to work together with these two gentlemen so that to assist this country achieve a good sense of cohesion. Because we do not want a situation in which yesterday Kalenjins were working with Kikuyus, so that this time round now, because Luos are working with Kikuyus, that now there is a big rift between Kalenjins and Kikuyus. So there is no reason for making one step forward and another step backwards. Thank you.
Stella, the political statement, let me begin with that because I've heard their views. Your view on the political statement that this is sending down there, and you are a youth champion. If there is something for the youth of Kisumu, for the youth of Siaya who have stood by Raila Odinga.
I think, let me first of all begin by noting that I am on record on this show as having said the handshake was a very good thing. That anybody who's against it is actually of the devil, because we desperately needed it at the time when it happened. But having said that, the handshake, I did say then, took place at the top level, but never took place at the bottom. And for a long, long time, the young people in Nyanza were not happy, or in former Nyanza, were not happy about the handshake, because they did not understand why they had to engage in the fight for that long, only for the handshake to happen. So I did mention here that it would be important for a certain level of sensitization to take place, for this group of people to understand why sacrifices of their ambitions had to be made at that time, and when eventually their aspirations will be met. At this time, as the president is visiting, I think it's a really good thing that he's visiting. He's sending definitely a positive message to the people of Nyanza that he's willing to work with the people of Nyanza. However, for the youth, we are yet to see what this is going to birth for them. We are yet to see what this is going to birth for them because we have a number of things that the youth would like to see happening in that region that are not coming up in this conversation. I do not see any conversation concerning how that population is going to be engaged. For a very long time, they have been the soldiers in this entire struggle. Even as people say the whole of the region has been fighting for their rights and blah, 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 most of the time it is the youth on the streets who do it. A good number of them died in the process of campaigning for what they thought was right. A good number of them had to sacrifice their time in school, in whatever other assignments they normally do, to be on the streets fighting on behalf of the region. So we are yet to see whether anything is going to come out for that group of the population. But having said that, I think we also need to appreciate that in the Luo Nyanza region, our culture does not celebrate get-rich-quick mechanisms. Our culture does not celebrate people who have been elevated in society without understanding where exactly their elevation came from. And I have seen a number of people who are going to be part of the delegation the president is going with, who may actually be sitting on the podium and being treated as VIPs, who may not necessarily be people that Luo Nyanza would regard. And for me, I'm asking myself a lot of questions. Is there somebody who has taken time to advise on who can actually address that nation? There are people we actually do not regard. If we do not know where your wealth comes from, we will not celebrate you. We are people who like to see the trail of your hard work and where your success is coming from before we respect you. Okay. And having said that, I, for example, expect that the conversation between our leader, Raila Odinga, and His Excellency the President would then come to a point where it will address some of even those things, the values that we uphold, and why we, as a young people in the region and as a population of Luo Nyanza, or the Luo community, were against what was happening in our elections. 4 of those issues are very well addressed in the Building Bridges initiative. One of them is corruption. Like I told you, we do not regard anybody who gets rich quick, anybody who does not rise through proper mechanisms. So corruption is a big issue. We definitely want to see it addressed. The second issue is about inclusivity. We have been left out for a long time. I will not belabor that point because everyone on this panel has managed to do that. The third issue has got to do with shared prosperity. We feel that we've given so much to this country, not just in terms of technical expertise, but even in terms of the struggle. Part of the reason why the Luo people were fed up after the elections was because for a long time they felt that they've had to sacrifice for this country for electoral processes that do not really work, and sometimes they feel like they're the only ones who sacrifice for this process. Even now, there are many of them who are asking themselves whether it's worth it to continue fighting for this cause, or we probably should just let this country proceed to do whatever it is they want to do with the elections. Okay. I think those are 3 things that must be addressed in that region in this conversation.
Okay, and I think I should have introduced you as the AU Anti-Corruption Champion 2018 from East Africa, right? All right, and congratulations. We celebrate you.
Thank you very much.
Asante sana. I'm just from Ghana last night. Thank you for coming. I want to open this conversation now for discussion, and where I want to depart from, ladies and gentlemen, is the fact that just a few days ago, Raila Odinga was in some part of central Kenya, and he wasn't welcome. Now, that is not the same thing that we are seeing. However, the sentiment that precedes the arrival of President Uhuru Kenyatta are that they didn't do it for our leader, but you have to do it here, right? Let's begin with David. The fact that that happened there, and on this area, everyone is saying, no, no, we have to welcome the president here.
No, I think Raila has been to Central and he has been welcome. I mean, let's agree. We are making baby steps. The handshake is the first step. It will not change overnight. It's going to take sensitization. It's going to take time. But I guarantee you that so long as this comes from a clear conscience of the 2 leaders, then those hiccups that will be seen of a few instances of being unwelcome, which may be the investment of other politicians who are not grateful or who are not supportive of the process of cohesion, the baby steps will lead to the real work. And so I do not want anyone to tire. I don't even want to focus on who is welcome or who is not welcome. I want to focus on the intention of Raila Odinga having a handshake with Uhuru Kenyatta. I want to focus on the genuineness between the 2 people who have said, I will break ranks which has been exhibited by Uhuru Kenyatta visiting Nyanza, which was not going to happen in the first term of the presidency. I doubt that the president politically decided to visit that region of the country. And so the focus must shift entirely from the little things going on underneath to the major thing going on the surface. We must, of course, reach down, uproot the vice from its very beginning. It's going to be hard. It is not easy to change. Change is very difficult. We are trying to change a country that has believed in its ethnicity. We want to change a country that first sees Mamboleo from his tribe without seeing who he is. We want to change a country from looking at Uhuru Kenyatta as Kikuyu and looking at him as president of Kenya, who will make decisions in the good state of all Kenyans. Now, that is not going to be easy, but it is going to be worth it. It will not be easy, but it is well worth it. It is well worth it to rise above tribe. It is well worth it to be the first president who fought corruption tooth and nail and decisively. It is well worth it to institutionalize the fight against negative ethnicity and say that going forward, this is what I propose as an institutionalized format of making the country feel included.
Okay.
And so I like that the people of Nyanza have said, tell you what, we have our issues. It's not like they have forgotten. And I know that they will demand that the goings-on in the election will not entirely be forgotten. But be that as it may, they are cognizant of the fact, and other regions in the country must. They're cognizant of the fact that we have a country to move forward, and we have to try and avoid bloodshed in the coming elections.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bessie.
I think to change also the narrative that we have, if Uhuru had gone 3 months before the handshake, or maybe even after the handshake, I think the same reaction would be, but that is not justifying that he was not welcome. The point I would like to echo is what Stella has said. What is the role of the youth? Yes, we have a disconnect right there. I had the president say that he'd rather hire old people than youth who are stealing. And if we cannot have a place for the youth, they make 60% of the IBC. They are the voters. They are the people dying there voting for these leaders. If they can't be recognized, then I feel they are left out, and they are the people who will take the bulk of that building initiative to the next level. So what is their role? Where is it? Thank God that we have a young face. I was expecting a white person when you said the AU Youth champion. Yeah, we don't have white hair. Well done. We have a young person, you know. I don't have anything against you, but it's to tell you she understands more than you would understand what they're talking about. Yeah. Yes? So that disconnect, we need to remove it. Now, he's welcome in Embu. Maybe they didn't also understand what the handshake entails. And that's where we now need to demystify this handshake and let it get down to the root, the man at the bottom there, to understand the handshake does not mean grand corruption. Because when I saw the president launch the new tender, was the 1,000 shilling note not working? Or are we using the handshake to do other grand corruption, and then we'll talk a different story altogether? So we also have to see what is it. We demystify this handshake. Let it go down to the common man. And now we understand, yes, true, we have done this. So that the people in Embu will recognize that Raila has played a huge role in the politics of this country.
Okay.
Yeah.
Joseph, do you think the underlying issues stemming from the last election will come up in this conversation as the leaders converse? Over the weekend, we've had it. Senator Orengo has denied the accusations that were leveled against him. But do you think they will come out, or should they come out during these conversations that we're having today?
On whether I think they will come out, that these issues will be discussed or not, I'm very skeptical. I'm very doubtful that that will happen. On whether they ought to come out, of course, that for me should really be the beginning. That yes, I agree with this, you know, again, I go back to that word, palliative approach. Let's manage things. Let's manage. I agree. You know, temporarily, let's hold our fire. I agree with that. Let's hold our fire temporarily so that it can allow us to sit at the table and talk. But I disagree when we present that as the ultimate. When we present the handshake as a solution, then if you are going to accuse me of being from the devil when I disagree, then I belong to the devil on that one. I stick there that should not be presented as the ultimate. It only ought to be a small gesture. When Kenyatta Uhuru agrees openly, whether voluntarily or because we will have forced him to discuss the violence, to discuss the discrimination, to discuss who owns what lands in this country, to discuss who stole Eurobond money from our economy, to discuss who is looting our parastatals, to discuss where all these hundreds of millions that are doled out, especially on weekends, come from. When they are willing, either voluntarily or the citizens force them, then I will begin to have hope that they are serious about solving the problem of this country. And it's majorly, it's primarily a political problem. Otherwise, in my opinion, we have these episodic, temporary solutions that are very shallow. They are good, but very shallow. They don't last long. Come the next opportunity when we have to compete, especially around political offices, and we start tearing each other into pieces. Why? Because we have not solved the underlying problem.
Okay.
So this calm, let me call it, that has been achieved through this handshake would be best if it is used to bring up openly these issues that make a lot of people, especially those in power, extremely uncomfortable. This calm should not be a calm that we demand that there should be no tension. Creative tension is necessary for sorting out a society that is so broken like ours.
Okay.
Welcoming people, I would have liked to see, actually, as I said earlier, welcoming people does not always mean you clap and sing. Even if people in Kisumu, Siaya, and so on had welcomed Uhuru Kenyatta with placards demanding for justice, demanding for the truth around the violence, and so that's a welcome as well. And that's a welcome that we should all welcome. We should not only think that welcome is to clap and sing and bow our head. No, we shouldn't. That is a welcome. You do it not armed, in a civil way, in a peaceful way. That is a welcome. And it's a worthy welcome.
Okay. Mambolo, these issues coming up, but to what end? To what end? What will happen after that?
Smeha is deep, very deep. Let me tell you something. Just after, and he reminds me that he's also old. Just after the handshake, immediately after the handshake, most of the supporters of the two leaders, both sides, were bamboozled. They did not understand what to do because they had been trained only to fight, and die fighting. I am sure the president, even now, still has a lot of opposition within Jubilee because there is a section there which doesn't understand why he had to take that step that he took, and that in their political matrix, they see this in 2022 as putting them in a less advantaged position, like if he didn't do the handshake. On the other side, as my colleagues have said, there are people in what formerly was NASA, I don't know whether it exists now, who still do not believe that this was the right direction that their leader needed to move, okay? And I'm sure Simeha is one of them who is an avowed supporter of that position. Be that as it may, I think what you're looking for here is the word balance. Strike a balance between the positive aspects we can gain from the process that has followed the handshake and the negative benefits it can have. The president, for instance, has said that one of his legacy projects in this nation is to leave a cohesive nation behind and to fight against corruption. Believe me, without this handshake, the fight against corruption would not have headed anywhere. Because anytime you touch someone who is seen to be leaning towards NASA, for instance, then the NASA brigade is going to come out and say, we are being targeted specifically because we do not support the government. But that was master genius at play. Bring everybody on the table so that when you hit a Jubilee person and you hit a NASA person, now because we are a one united nation against corruption,
it's fair play.
It's fair play. And I think that is going to achieve a lot of things. David said here that the deterrent effect of the fight against corruption alone is enormous. And we have achieved this within a very short period of time. That is a very positive thing that we have had. And then look at the economy. GDP was not even measurable anymore, whether it was growing or declining and so on. But we can see that right now, economic activity is beginning to return to normal. And we expect that probably now Uhuru, working together with Raila, will share the ideas they both had for this nation so that this country can move forward. Because ultimately, let me tell you, it doesn't matter how much or how good political speak we have. For as long as that mwananchi out there does not have money with which to pay for his son's school fees, does not have money with which to access medical services, does not have money with which to do all they need to do daily to survive, that political speak is not going to make any difference. So what I think is important is, this is a good step. Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta are now sitting at the table. Let Raila Odinga bring the good ideas that he was selling to Kenyans before the election. Let them put them together with Uhuru Kenyatta's ideas and use them objectively to take this nation forward. Very finally, a very important aspect of these negotiations, I'm sure, is this. Of course, people have ambitions beyond 2022, and you cannot blame them for having those ambitions. In fact, as we speak, you do not know what ambitions Uhuru Kenyatta might have, what ambitions, politically speaking, Raila Odinga might have, what ambitions Ruto might have, or whoever who has ambitions, be they to become a president or whatever they want to become in future. That's why I introduced earlier the question of Kenyans discussing early, prior to 2022, and understanding what sort of government they want to have. Because we have a presidentialist system in which the winner takes it all and the losers go to hell. So do we want to have a discussion now and say, look, this experiment that we have borrowed from the United States might probably not work in our context. Can we find a way in which after every election, certain people who were on the other side are accommodated so as to achieve the inclusivity that we are looking for as a nation? Because let me tell you, this diversity of tribe is not a big problem, because it is there everywhere. If you go to the United States, you will have blacks, you will have Hispanics, you will have whites who are core constituencies who are looking for something different in that election. Okay? So let every Kenyan in the system that we have be able to tell that, you know, I have my leader here, he fights for this, and ultimately after this election, I am guaranteed that what I was fighting for will not be forgotten.
All right, I'd like to speak to Stella now. And Stella, the question is, if President Uhuru Kenyatta himself, let me say all the leaders are on the platform and none of them raise the issues that are very pertinent that a lot of people want to hear them speak about, what happens if the president himself raises those issues on the podium? But before you answer that question, we told you we are live from the conference, the delegates conference. That's the Kenya National Union of Teachers conference, and right now we understand that the Secretary General Wilson Sossion is speaking, and the issues at hand is delocalization of teachers, reduction of teacher salaries for professional trainings, the new curriculum, among others. And also present at that forum, we understand, is Co-to Secretary General Francis Atwoli. Also, what's going to come out of that forum is the employment of 30,000 more teachers, and of course the teachers are against the deduction of 1.5% of their salary to go into the affordable housing, part of the Agenda 4. Let's go now to Stella. Stella, if President Uhuru Kenyatta was to stand, and let me say all the leaders that will be given an opportunity have spoken, but none of them has raised the issue, so it's President Kenyatta raising them himself, would he be more accepted in Kisumu today?
I must say yes, especially if the leaders don't address the issues that the people would like to hear, and he manages to speak about all of them. He would definitely be more accepted in Kisumu today. The people of the Luo nation understand exactly what they want out of this engagement. They know exactly what is where the shoe hurts on these matters. So if the president manages to bring it up, I think he's going to be more accepted in the region. However, let me also respond to a small issue that maybe came up as Bessie was speaking. Mr. President recently said that he's rather appointing an old man because he does not trust the youth in this country because we are all corrupt. I am challenging him today, and I'm hoping that at some point he's going to address this in his conversation. I just need him to show me one person in this country who has been arraigned in court for corruption who is under the age of 35. I can confirm now, after going through the entire list, there are many who have been named who are under 35, but there's not one who has yet been confirmed to be corrupt in this country. So how he then decides to bandy the whole of the youth population and decide they cannot be appointed to positions because they're corrupt is something I do not understand to date. And I expect all the youth leaders to speak on this matter and get his attention to make sure that he addresses this issue. Having said that, I'm hopeful that the leaders in the region are also going to begin the conversation by highlighting some of the issues that are affecting the youth and the population in the Luo nation. If they speak the messages and the president echoes the same messages, I think it will really help the conversation. But if the president speaks it himself, it may actually give the president all the popularity and leave them hanging there. And I'm hoping they do not commit that kind of political suicide. But having said that, the president speaking about any issue is normally followed by action and resources. So for me, if he manages to highlight all the issues and say exactly what he wants to see happening about these issues, I can already see resources and activity following those decisions. And I'm kind of hoping it's going to be you know, pronouncements that actually make sense. I don't know if you remember, before the elections, the president went to Luo and Western region very many times, giving a bailout to Webuye Pan Paper. And each time he would mention a figure, but this figure was probably only released once. So each time it looked like the region was receiving some money, but then the figure was only released once. Of course, it was political games. I'm hoping he's not going to be playing those kinds of games. I'm hoping when he goes there, he shall be saying things that will be followed by action and, of course, attached to resources, which he probably should have discussed with his cabinet.
There was no handshake then. Trust me, there's handshake right now. But I want to play the devil's advocate before I move back to David. In a country where the term youth has been used to mean 45, 50-year-olds, I mean, and the president did not categorically say youth. He said young people. And the young people in this country, political age, is perhaps 50-year-olds. 55. Those are the young people in this country.
That statement would have been true, Ken.
Yes. He did say youth.
That statement would have been true, Ken, before the promulgation of our constitution. But the Constitution of Kenya
is very clear on the age.
2010 is very clear on the age definition of youth. It is anybody who has attained the age of 18 and has not attained the age of 35. When he says young people, he should be very clear on what he's talking about, because as a president, he's the main custodian of our constitution. He knows who the youth are. He also knows who the biggest players in sports are, and they're definitely not 91-year-olds.
I want to jump in on that very quickly.
Yes.
I don't agree with the president about that in principle, but probably because Modi Awori smokes the pipe and he can swim, probably I think that's why the president thinks he's young. However, this is an important thing, and you just showed us pictures of Sosion. Sosion is the Secretary General of the Teachers Union, and Sosion is a Member of Parliament. It is not just a question of appointing old people, you know. Let everybody allow the political goods that are available to move around, you know. You don't want to hoard the position of Secretary General of the Teachers Union, be a nominated Member of Parliament, be the lead church elder in your church, be the headman of the Nyumba Kumi initiative and everything, just because you believe that, or you think that you are the only person who can do these things. And you know, we have seen some of these people stay in these positions for so long, you know. A kid is born, they go through high school, and the Secretary General of the Teachers Union is the same person. I think it's important or Kotu for that matter. It doesn't matter how good you are. It is extremely important for people to start understanding that there is a very good principle, which is live and let live. It is basically
Let me say, as a young person,
who's a beneficiary, by the way,
as a beneficiary of a presidential appointment to a board. And let me state this, that I disagree with the fact that a 91-year-old would represent an outfit that predominantly represents young people. However, I do not entirely think that at 91 someone is useless. The Supreme Court of America has an 88-year-old judge whose clarity of mind is unquestionable. I am a proponent of generational mix. That where I sit as a 32-year-old and Simeha sits as probably a 50-year-old.
48.
48. 2 years. 2 years. It's white hair, that's a blessing. There is a need for generational mix because the young people are the accelerators of growth. The old people are the brakes that hold them. Young people left on their own, some people opine, can be destructive. But I need to quip that this is the same country that afforded Tom Mboya at 33 the honor of being a cabinet secretary, and he delivered absolutely excellently. This is also the country where at 35, Mwai Kibaki was a minister, and together with Mboya, they did the sessional paper number 10, which to date remains one of the things most quoted as a development framework.
Even yesterday, they quoted it.
But as I say that, it is also the country which had at 77, Michuki, bringing transformation that other young people in that docket had not brought. What am I saying? There is a need for generational mix, and I do not think that it is fair or right to say that young people are too corrupt. Some of us, when I went to Chemelil, for example, we found a dead horse. We flogged it back. Last week, for the first time, Chemelil, the people around Kisumu and in Nairobi, have seen the Chemelil sugar back in their markets. Why? Because some of us are committed to country and have a sense of duty to the nation. And so not all young people are corrupt. When you see Ben Gethi and Ngirita, the slave queen, in court for looting, as young people, you do not want to conveniently forget other old people whose names may be problematic, who have been part of our problems and crisis in this nation. If by the mere mention of a name someone is hung, then even Mudia Wari wasn't mentioned in Goldenberg. So this is it. We need to agree that we deserve a chance. But young people, much is deserved of them. Why? Because they have been the people affected most by the menace of corruption. It therefore falls upon them squarely to find in themselves, whenever they have an opportunity to lead differently. They cannot be the ones who do things the same way the middle-aged and the old do them. We must agree in the president's disappointment in that, whereas the young people have been hit most by the corruption crisis and menace in this problem, when they've been given a chance, not all of them have risen to the occasion and behaved as is deserved of a young person who has been impacted on negatively over the years by corruption. Our parents did not have to go through the madness we see of trying to buy exams. But because corruption has become normal, when we went to school, Stella and I, in recent past, you realize that there are places where it became normal until Matiang'i and Magoha came and said, an end to this nonsense. And so young people are appointed to these positions of honor, and given these positions of a high calling, must deliver beyond the expectation. There is no space for luxury. They must say, we are tired with the old order and regime that has institutionalized corruption and normalized it, and therefore perform better deserved of them. And so, corruption is not an issue of the young or the old. It is cross-sectional. You find it among the old. The young people we speak about only learnt it from the old because, you know, lessons are passed on. They, however, must decide to learn what is right.
Bessie.
For me, he said, James said that we have to find a striking balance. And for me, the balance is called accountability. He's talked about the standards. We cannot afford laxity. Accountability will ensure there's no laxity. If we want to make sure everybody is included, we must account for it. Because for me, when I look at all the initiatives we are taking, take for instance, the Big Four. Who accounts for it? What measures have we put to make sure we are taking stock of what is happening? Now, like we go to Kisumu, Professor Anyang' Nyong'o has done a wonderful job. But we may try and look at it as like we are whitewashing his efforts because we are looking at the peace, the partnership, the peace building initiative. But he has done a lot in terms of removing Kisumu from what it was to a new place. So we must also make sure we must account for what it is we are doing. The youth also, on the other hand, have to wake up and take their position. The laxity, the complacency, yeah, it works this way. We have to stop and take up our position and be rightfully so. Not involved in violence. We have to get out of this menace called violence and stand and say, this is not right, but we are fighting for what is ours. Yes. Accountability for me would do.
Simeha, you haven't spoken about this matter.
Yes, I chose to.
He said he was old. He hoped that having white hair and saying he's old would earn him a board appointment. Then when I said he was 50, quickly returned and said, no, I'm 48.
Or perhaps he doesn't want to be smeared with corruption, you know?
But this is old, actually. As you had Stella make it very clear where youth ends. So
no, I think
I passed that.
In my estimation, the young would be up to 40, the middle-aged up to 55, the old after 56.
By which standards?
By my own.
Okay.
Okay. We'll forgive you.
We'll have that debate another day. First of all, just to comment a quick one on the issue of what Kenyatta said about young people. You know, it's a serious insult to Kenyans, to young people, and to all Kenyans. For him to say what you said, I challenge all of you to go and check. We used to have a ministry called the Ministry of Internal Affairs. No, hold on. Not Youth Affairs. The ministry that was responsible for prisons and immigration.
Oh, the one Moody headed.
Home Affairs. Home Affairs. Home Affairs. Thank you very much. Yeah, that's why we need young people. Ministry of Home Affairs, and during the Kibaki time, and just during that time when Moody was heading it, the Department of Immigration was taken away from that ministry to Interior. I challenge all of you, not for now, go check why that department was removed from the ministry when Moody Awori was heading it. And then we can have a discussion another day. So this is an insult to say that Moody Awori is what represents the epitome of clean people of integrity, and other young people are corrupt. Indeed, there are young people in his cabinet who are extremely corrupt. There are people very close to him who they call young but are not young, who are corrupt. That almost the whole of that bunch, so it's so irritating that one of them can place himself aside, remove himself, and then pass judgment on other people. It is unacceptable that, and young people should read that message very clearly and know that you are not going to use what is provided by this system to solve the problem created by this system. The solutions must lie elsewhere. And as I'm saying, the ultimate is to dismantle this system. I do not think Kenyatta and company can be part of the ultimate solution for young people in this country. I do not think so. Let us accept, peaceful gestures. Let us accept that yes, we do need to solve our problems without, of course, suddenly without any violence. But let us not imagine that those are the solutions. That when we laugh, when the president says those kind of things about young people, and we laugh and clap, when we shake hands and the president comes to Luo Nyanza, Western Kenya, because we have had a handshake and people receive him with relations and clapping, that then we are getting solutions to the problems of both young and old people in this country. We are not. Okay. I'm so afraid that we will get lulled. If you hear me, I just hope you are hearing me, that I'm being so skeptical and afraid that we will get lulled. Even when you get an appointment of Siani, do not forgive those sins unless there's a true confession. They must come before us and confess, and we talk about these sins. We talk to each other about these sins, and we agree as a nation, how do we change this so that it never ever happens again? Okay. I hear many of us here speak about 2022. Do not be so consumed by that date that William Ruto and his friends so love. The timing for monumental, titanic political change in this country could be earlier than 2022, or it could be later than 2022. Let us not get too focused on that, because it's the next electoral cycle, when you look at the infrastructure we have, the immediate past record we have as a nation of managing elections, is all in tatters.
Okay.
And then we are talking about 2022. No, we just need to put a stop. We need to raise alarm. We need to insist on the sustenance of tension in this country, so that we don't forget these problems, so that we don't laugh and clap when Kenyatta insults us.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm told that we have a few minutes on the clock. I'd just like to give you an opportunity to close and probably talk about this visit in your own way and tell us what you expect out of it and what not to expect out of it. And I'll begin with James, just a minute each. Then I'll finish with Simeha because he's spoken last. So I'll just cross Simeha. James.
I just hope that as people come to confess in Simeha's church, that he will allow me the position of altar boy. However, this is extremely important, Ken, that this country has challenges just like any other country. And it is extremely important for us to get beyond a phase in which the President of the Republic of Kenya feels like he needs to get permission first from a section of the country for him to visit. We need to get to a situation in which the President of the Republic of Kenya should be able to visit any place without tension or without the kind of things that we have seen in the past. However, I want to urge the President to look Raila Odinga and Nyanza leaders in the face and tell them that I am willing to make sure that the national government plays its part in delivering on the promise of this nation to the people of Nyanza. But on the other hand, you leaders of Nyanza also deliver on your part. Don't insist and make noise about the failures and frailties of national government, while you have even county governments probably which are not delivering. Exactly. Members of parliament who do nothing. Senators, women representatives, MCAs, they have been locked in battles in Kisumu, in Homa Bay, and so on and so forth. He should be able to look at them in the face and say, we will do our part as national government. Do your part as, as the local leadership.
Stella.
Ken, I have a number of observations about this whole thing. One is that I'm hoping the president is going to use this opportunity to apologize to the people of Nyanza. The people of the 4 counties of that region did not vote for him, did not participate in the elections. They are going to be going for the next 4 years, we count 5, with the president they did not participate in electing. But they have accepted to welcome him because it's good manners. So he should take advantage of this opportunity to apologize to the people of the Luo nation for what happened in the past and maybe chart a way forward with the same. He should also take some time to address some of the historical injustices and especially come close to addressing some of the nearest issues that we have, including Baby Pendo, including former director of IT, Sando, his death and everything. He needs to talk about all those issues because they're important, for sure. Number 3, and most important, he needs to address the economy of the region. Our economy has been heavily sabotaged in that region. You are aware, for example, of the fact that the CS Finance gave a carte blanche for anybody who wanted to import sugar to bring it into this country without restrictions. Yet he put restrictions on maize, which means he was controlling his region but not controlling the economic activity in his region and not controlling the economic activity in our region. What are we saying? He needs to address some of those issues and commit to the people of the Luo nation that he is now willing to work with the leaders of the region to promote the economic development of that region. And of course, if possible, he should actually mention specifically how and on which areas he's going to work with them on. Okay. The last point is actually twofold. One of them is that he needs to speak that he needs to speak to the youth, and he needs to address some of the issues concerning the youth in that region, and speak to how he's going to channel the energy of the young people in that region. You can see and you know it is a lot of energy towards and harness it towards some productive activities in the region. But having said that, the youth in that region must also organize themselves to demand accountability for every promise the president is going to make today. So if I was to give advice to the youth of the Luo nation, this is what I would tell them. Listen to His Excellency the President very attentively, mark whatever it is he's going to say, and organize yourself in a way that you can hold him accountable for that in the near future. Unfortunately, she's eaten a lot of your time, but I'll give you a few seconds. Few seconds. So yes. One, well done that Uhuru has gone to visit our brothers. Secondly, if he's fighting corruption, I expect every corrupt person in that region to bring back our money. He's calling them to church. I'll be picking the offering for corruption. Altar boy, pastor, or priest, and then... Now I need the collection of that money because it can be used for many, many, many projects. Okay. So I need that money back. That's the only thing I would want the president to assure me, even when he's there, that their money that has been corruptly taken will go back to them. Okay. Yes. David.
After Ananias in the Bible had come into church with the loot and under-declared what he had looted, and they thought that the church was the safest place. Ananias died in the church with that loot. The altar boy had seen, he had spoken to Paul, who was there, and the money may have been taken, but then there was the one man who was standing, the men who were standing at the door of the temple to go and bury Ananiah. I want to be that man. Listen, when the president is done with Nyanza, he needs to say, people of Nyanza, you have seen my commitment to a cohesive nation by my handshake with Raila Odinga. I promise you it will go beyond what I have done with Raila Odinga. I will deliberately and decisively institutionalize this cohesion. I will ensure that units such as the National Cohesion and Integration Commission that have been doing nothing is either disbanded or fired and new people put in place. I will ensure that in my appointments you will be able to see, because that's the first point. That's the first palliative level. You will be able to see a lot more people across the country, the Njemp, the Luo, the Luya, the Dorobo alike, all represented in that government. I will ensure, as I have done, that when Kenya Pipeline CEO is fired and Kenya Power, and you all agree they are from one tribe, then they will be given opportunities to other people from other parts of the country based on merit. He needs to tell them that I know the backbone of this country, of this part of the country, is cane farming. I will give a decree that whereas we are signatories to the COMESA agreement that allows free trade amongst us, up to and including sugar, for now, we will stop the importation of sugar until we are able to declare how much really we need if we were to operate optimally in this region. And take away their loans and tell them this 2 billion loan that you owe KRA government, Nyinyi government owes each other, that one is cancelled.
David, we have
because if we save the 600 billion lost in this country,
it's enough.
We will do so much with it.
Simeha, 30 seconds.
Thank you for that.
30 seconds.
I just want to say that the time when the time comes when we don't lose sleep, when the media doesn't fall heads over heels, is it? Competing to talk about a presidential visit being a precursor for development goodies, when people will understand really what human development is all about, then we will be seeing something worth celebrating. Because we ought to worry that we have devolution, we have counties majorly responsible for local development, and you even have governors lining up waiting for development from a president. You know, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's really stupid that we will line up to say that the president is coming to our region, therefore he's bringing development. We have to worry then what has happened to devolution if we have to wait for a president to visit. The day when we have a legitimately popularly elected president and he wants to come and visit Vihiga and wherever else, as a symbol of national unity and many other positive things, we will be emulating, not because he's bringing development, but he's visiting developed places, which have developed because we have systems in place to develop equitably as a country. And finally, one thing I hope they ask Uhuru Kenyatta is about people who were killed by police. And I want to use this platform to pass a message of congratulations to a police officer called Inspector Bebirone Umazi. This is the Deputy OCS of Nyali Police Station. She was feted by civil society organizations, human rights organizations, on 10th Monday, International Human Rights Day, for her human rights-based approach to security, to policing. A completely unique police officer at the coast. And that's a challenge to other police officers, including my friend Charles Owino, that you can put human rights as the basis for policing. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And thank you, David Osiany, who is the undertaker. Thank you very much. Thank you, Bessie, who is the Caesar's wife. She's collecting it. Thank you, Priest, Simeha. And thank you, who was here again? Altar Boy. Thank you, Altar Boy, James Mamboleo. And lastly, a member of the chapter, Stella Gara. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for coming. And of course, right after this, NTV Sasa is on air. Same discussion. They're still waiting for President Uhuru Kenyatta to touch down in Kisumu. Remember, we are also live from Gigiri, from the NAT conference at Bomas, and we'll get briefs from other counties. Thanks for watching. My name is Ken Mijungu. Good morning.